Acclaimed special effects artist Nick Benson is responsible for movies such as the Blob 1988 remake, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, as well as Tremors. But did you know he's also responsible for movies like Dead Heat, Society, and Night of the Demons? Wait, really? God damn. What's up, all? You've got Rob from Terror at Synth, and today we're gonna get to talk with Nick Benson. Nick has done special effects for so many great classic and cult classic 80s horror films. And not only that, but he's starting to do some movie work again now. So I had the chance to interview him after checking out his spot over in Las Vegas, which is a showcase of props from movies, which we'll talk about as well. As a matter of fact, there's a lot to talk about with Nick, so let's just jump right into it. What's up, guys? Tonight I am here with Nick Benson, special effects artist for a lot of horror movies that you might know, such as Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, Tremors, and the Blob remake of 1988, just to name a few of the more popular ones, as well as a lot of cult classic 80s movies. Nick, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you've been a busy man. We were just talking about some of the projects that you've been working on.
Yeah. There's quite a few things. You can see one of them behind me. There's a Freddy face over there on my desk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
I can't see
over this side of me. Let me see if I can tilt this over there.
I can just see the other skull.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been working on that because I do prop restoration also.
Oh, sweet, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've been, watching your stuff unknowingly for many years. I've heard your name before, but I didn't know how many of these movies you were connected to until I went over to Las Vegas recently. And, I actually spoke with your son over at Cinelogia, and you weren't in that day, but, we'll definitely get into that. I just wanted to start it off, so with my channel, what I kind of focus on with Terror at Synth High is, how culture has been affected by horror movies and how people have been affected by horror movies. And I think something tells me
I'm the poster boy for that.
I was going to say something tells me you might know a thing or two about that. So I might have the right guy on the line here.
I'm the poster child for that shit.
So how did you first get into special effects? I know you've been doing it for a while through the 80s. And how did you first get into it?
Almost 40 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up a Universal brat, I guess is what you'd call it. My mom was an executive at Universal Studios.
Okay.
She was working in their legal department and I believe for the copyright lawyer and stuff like that where they would go after, people. But she also like kind of changed. She was there for 25 years. So she kind of changed at one point to consumer products. So she was in charge of consumer products at one point. But like there was times through my childhood that, I would go to work with her and, she'd probably want to get rid of me. So she'd give me the keys to her golf cart and a pass. And I just put the thing around my neck and go drive around Universal Studios lot and get to do whatever the hell I wanted to do. So
you had the playground.
Yeah, pretty much. With the badge and the golf cart, you kind of get to go wherever you want there, or at least you used to. So, I'd be able to get on rides if I wanted to, kind of crash different offices and see people and meet people. It was pretty cool.
Nice. So then you got into that, and did you always know you were going to get into horror? Do you always know that was where you're going to be going with this? Or?
Not particularly, although I was very drawn to horror, probably around age 10, I'd say. Getting my first taste of the Universal monsters and everything, I just absolutely loved every one of them. My two favorites were the Wolfman and Creature from the Black Lagoon. So
nice.
But how can you not be drawn to those? Every one of them's like misunderstood.
I don't know if you can see it behind me, but that's the Universal set right there over by the TV. We just took that and we decided to go through all the monsters and
nice.
Everything, all the classics, and Wolfman definitely stands up for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I was really drawn to those as a kid and sort of really got into them. Didn't really understand how that stuff was done until I, started going to work with mom and seeing some of what was done. And, as I got older and older, like in the 70s, I'd like have to sneak to see it because my mom didn't like me seeing R-rated movies, but I'd like sneak and watch Hammer movies and, different stuff that I wasn't supposed to be watching. So I got really more and more into it, but I had to sneak around and do it. So,
Gotcha.
and then there used to be a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland, and
Yes, I know.
I'd go pick those up, and it's just, I sort of became like a creature kid,
Nice.
and I never thought that I would actually make a career out of it. But at like 18 years old, I was playing in bands all through high school as a musician, and I knew I wanted to do some really theatrical stuff.
What did you
Um,
play?
I started on guitar when I was like 12. I think I started playing guitar,
Cool.
and then it runs. I'm one of those people that like wants to know how everything works, and I have to take it apart and I have to try it. It's weird obsession with this guy here. So,
I guess that gets you very particular about.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes me particular. It makes me like a jack of all trades, master of nothing. So
I do a little bit of that.
Yeah. I know how to do a lot of things. I heard all of it, but I know how to do a lot of things. So yeah, so I was playing in a band and like thinking about all these crazy theatrical things to do. And it looks like I lost you.
Yeah, I think we froze up there for a second.
There we go.
I can still hear you. The audio is still going.
Okay, we're back. It's telling me we got an unstable connection. Anyway, so where was I? I was in high school trying to figure out all these crazy things to do. And then that kind of transitioned, like doing some stuff with my bands when I was younger, transitioned to after I moved out of the house and was playing around in Hollywood, different projects, different music projects, and wound up roommates with this guy, Sean Brennan, who had a band called London After Midnight, or I started the band with him called London After Midnight, named after the vampire film. So, I was kind of dinking around trying to figure out some really cool things to do on stage with that. And our other roommate, like I had two other roommates besides Sean. Sean's brother was Kevin Brennan, who worked on The Howling and worked with Rick Baker and like did an amazing sculptor, this guy.
Nice.
And the other roommate was Steve Johnson, who did Ghostbusters and Poltergeist 2. And, so it was, at first it was a little bit, I don't know how to say it. I was a little intimidated, I guess.
Because they were already working on
it. Because these guys were like giants, and
okay.
And they're all of a sudden they're my roommates, so I didn't really know how to handle that.
But that must have been a fun house.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll say Steve had a party once, and I don't think it ended until 5 days later. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, which, I know in his books, he talks about some of the crazy stuff he did. And he's got a set of books called Rubberhead.
Okay.
Volume 1 and 2. But
have to check that out.
Yeah, there's some crazy, interesting stories in there. But anyway, so yeah, I was kind of playing around with some ideas and kind of bouncing them off of him as I got to know him. And one day he just kind of said, "Hey, how'd you like to come make Rubber Monsters with me?" And he was starting on a movie called Night of the Demons, which I'm sure you know. And I was
going to mention that.
Yeah, wanted me to come in and start making stuff with him on that film. So, it was kind of crazy. It's just trial by fire. So
nice.
So obviously he liked my ideas, and
that's awesome. So you kind of had a front row seat here, and then got into it that way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But hands on right from the beginning. And that was the first movie that you worked on then, was Night of the Demons, right? What was that, 88 or 87?
Working on 1987, early 87, into 88. Those are a lot. I worked on a lot of films between 87 and 88.
Yeah, I looked at so I just want to go down a list of a few of the movies that I love that you did in those years, and so other people know some of these cult classics. I guess this is a little bit later. Tales from the Darkside, and then Bride of Re-Animator, The Abyss, Night of the Demons, Dead Heat, Society. Society's coming back around now, man. People are finding that again.
Coming back around. I have some interesting. I'm not sure how much I can tell you, but I can tell you that Screaming Mad George and myself are working on a mask line, and we're working on potentially working with Brian Usna to get that licensed.
Oh.
So we're going to have some masks, maybe even some toys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Not trying to get that out there, you know?
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you've been a busy man lately, it sounds like.
Yeah, well,
so-
it's funny because I wasn't sure that was going to happen. It's funny because I wound up in Vegas in 2007, worked for a theming company for 15 years and got pulled out of retirement by a film called Cyst. That
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
No. It's I think its release is pretty soon, or it already has been released. The producers on that, there was just something weird that happened at the end where they weren't going to shoot where they were originally going to shoot, and there was something that happened there that severed the ability to have me work on it. But I helped them. They gave me special thanks in the film and whatever because I came up with concepts or whatever. But
I think that's where I saw it when I was looking at your IMDb. I think I saw System. I was like, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that one, that although it kind of fell through at the very last day, and then weirdly enough, I got a phone call, 35 years later from Steve Johnson saying, "Hey, I'm doing a video for Slipknot. We're going to shoot in Vegas. Can you crew up and help me out with this?"
Oh, okay. So that's how you went over to Vegas originally? Okay.
No, I left LA in
okay.
2000, 98, 99, somewhere in there. But yeah, so I moved away from Los Angeles and the film industry for a very long time. Gotcha. I got married, I had kids, all kinds of stuff. And then I became just the typical dad that did really nothing special.
Well, that's something too, right?
But yeah, got pulled back out of that October of 2019 when Steve called me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this music video for Slipknot. Can you crew up and we'll do this together?"
Well, I think it's
pretty surreal after.
Well, I think I speak for for like 30
Yeah, 30 years
right, to pick up where you left off. But I think I speak for myself and others when I say we're happy to have you back and excited to see what goes on with that. Before we leave just your beginnings there, I just wanted to ask, is there any advice that you would have for somebody who would want to get into this field?
The industry's changed so much, and I'm learning that every day myself. Coming back out of it, it was so different when 30 years ago. It was so different. Sure. And now we have so many different tools and different materials and things that make it easier and things that make it cheaper. Yeah, I encourage all of it because I see so many young filmmakers doing different things, and they all have some really great things to offer.
Yeah, for sure.
But if that's your passion, man, do it. I've learned that myself. This has always been my passion, and the day that I got pulled back into this, my wife was like, "Do it, just do it."
Nice. That's awesome. She's supportive too.
And well, clearly, look at this. It's full of so much stuff that probably most houses wouldn't have if you didn't have the support. Right. Sure. But yeah, I love it. She loves it. She's not really like she gets scared easy, so she doesn't like watch a lot of horror. But she loves what I do, and she loves some of the pieces that I have. And
nice.
So it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, my girlfriend likes everything but very gory stuff. So, but she likes the 80s gore because she's like, oh, it's like I can see that it's not like complete. She just doesn't like some of like the super ultra violent stuff. So
yeah,
that's fine.
What's cool though is like the 80s. See, the thing about the 80s horror is it never took itself too seriously. Right. It seems like horror now is so serious.
Agreed. I'm a big, 70s and 80s guy. And I guess the 70s was a lot more serious with some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But the 80s was, it was just the perfect mix between that and like, those prosthetics and, the kind of stuff that you did, as well as with like the animatronics. I think, as well as a lot of other people, obviously, I think that was just like, a real slice period there.
Yeah.
But, so what were some of your favorites that you worked? So getting into the things that you worked on. So what was your favorite movie that you worked on, first of all? Can you?
That's always a tough question. I get that one a lot, but it's always tough to pick one because each experience was completely different and unique. And I did so many different things, and I was trying to like some of them were huge learning experiences. So they have really, I'm really connected to them because of that. I stayed with Steve on a couple of films. Like I'll use those as an example. Like it was kind of, like I said, trial by fire earlier. It's one of those things where where I'm learning, like I already had a set of skills, but really honing those and figuring out new things and new materials and things I hadn't worked with. It's like I had to learn them really fast. And it kind of not only does it show somebody like Steve like what I can and can't do, but at the same time it allows me to sort of step out of my comfort zone and do things and learn things that, oh, maybe I can do it this way, or maybe I can do it that way. And I'll use a little story as an example. Like there was on Night of the Demons, there's a scene where Linnea is in the bathroom with the guy, and after she pushes the lips, or I don't remember if it's after she pushes the lipstick through the nipple, or if it's but she's having sex with him in the bathroom, and she grabs his head and just drives her thumbs through his eyes.
Right.
And you watch them pop. Okay, so we were kind of sitting around hashing out how that was going to get done, and we used to have like there was a guy named William Forsh that is still a very good friend of mine that would videotape stuff in the shop, because he had a VHS, like a big old VHS camcorder, and we would do little tests with his camcorder. So as I recall, was eating my lunch. I brought my lunch and I had like these giant grapes in a baggie. And like Steve and I are sitting there shooting the shit about what can we use? What can we do? And I picked up a grape and I'm like, what about that? And he's like, nice. That's fucking brilliant. Let's do it. So we did it and we put it on the camera test. So, if you watch the film and if you go frame by frame, you'll see the grape seeds pop out of there.
I'm going to have to do that now.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to make a note to myself to do that.
Yeah. So it's just like improvising and thinking of things that you may not normally think of.
Right.
You have to think what's going to work for this. And I'm finding myself doing that even now on this film I'm currently not only helping produce, but some guys that, from way back that I've gotten back together with. The director was the production designer on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. He's directing this film, and I'm going back through having to break scenes down and do stuff that I haven't done in a long time. So I'm a little rusty, but
I got you.
But it's coming along.
So still learning some different things now, because you've been out of it for a while, right? And and it seems like you've always been innovative. So I'm very
budget's like a really big thing now. It's like so different than it used to be. They use so much less money, but materials are actually very expensive still. So it's a juggling act to try and make things happen. But
like the media is probably much cheaper, right? Like to actually like the tools to make it is much
without a doubt. Like there's no film developing costs.
Right.
There's no, because it's all digital,
Yeah, you do like one or two people for that aspect of it, and then like yeah,
it's fantastic that from that aspect.
Are you someone who agrees with the saying that sometimes the restrictions of a film make it better because you have to think of more innovative things to do with it? Is that hold to you, or?
Yes and no. I mean, I think it's awesome that it's become so much easier to make a film, and all of these digital tools, even CG. I mean, there's a lot of practical fans that just fucking hate it.
Right.
And I understand it, because for a long time, it was really abused.
Right.
CG was really abused for a lot of years, and practical almost went completely away, and they did nothing but CG, and it looked like shit.
Right.
But let's face it, there are films that, let's use Winston Studios as an example. And let's say Jurassic Park, or, those are examples of practical and CG as a perfect marriage.
Right.
It's not necessarily about practical versus digital. It's about your tool set. And that's what I have to say to young filmmakers. It's like there's so many tools out there now, and I'm sorry, I'm old, but I don't know how to use probably 80% of them. I know how to use some of them. I was an editor for a while. I get the gist. But the tools are so awesome now, and you can do so much with them, that if you use them in the right ways, it's just another tool in the toolbox. Use it the right way. Right. Use it what it's for.
Right. And I kind of agree with that too, because I was one of those people who was just like, fuck CGI, I hate all that stuff and all. But then, like, you're right. If you use it the right way, have you seen have you seen Psycho Gorman?
No, I haven't seen that.
That's the new one came out just recently. I should check that out. That was a good example of that. It's more of like a comedy kind of horror. It's a a little bit more lighthearted, but it's got great practical effects in it, and it's also got like some really good CGI that's mixed in, because it's like a sci-fi kind of blend. But
right.
Yeah, so that's so any particular pieces that you talked about the one with the eyes and everything. Any other pieces, or maybe something where you learned, like a movie where you feel like you learned the most, or anything?
Can you repeat that? I lost you for a second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So any particular pieces that you worked on that really stood out for you as like maybe like a learning period where you learned to use skills the most, like what you're really proud of? Or?
I'll be honest. I mean, two of the films that I was really, really happy to work on, just because of the legacy of them, was Nightmare 4 and the Blob.
Hell
the Blob. Funny enough, getting on the Blob was kind of a weird one for me, because I knew who Chuck Russell was. He had directed Nightmare 3, and I'm like, oh, this will be cool.
Right.
But I'm kind of afraid of him because he had this reputation of being a real jackass.
Oh, really?
But Chuck's just tough. It's very simple. Chuck is just a tough director. They're out there. James Cameron's another one. He's tough. He worked his way up from working with Roger Corman to being the big director he is. He did effects. He understands it, but he wants what he wants, and that's it. Chuck Russell's kind of the same way. Working for him was very intimidating, but at the same time, and what they were doing at the Creature Shop, I was really into what they were doing. It looked really good, and the effects show it. That film still stands up today.
Oh, it certainly does. It certainly does. Yeah, I think the Blob, really, like that. Every kill in that movie, I had to rewatch through the other night, actually, and I knew I was going to be talking to you, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this movie's so good.
Yeah.
It's like every kill just stands up so well, and it's another example of what you're talking about, like with just the practical effects, but mixing with I think just that bright 80s, like where it's not taking itself too seriously, but also that was a gory movie. Those kills were fantastic, man.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot. It was really messy to work on, but it was really fun.
Yeah, I bet. So yeah, tell me about some of the things that well, first of all, how I got turned on to you is I went to a trip to Las Vegas recently with a family trip, and I was over there for like 2 weeks. And I'm just like, we got to get out and see some things. And I had, started the YouTube thing a little while ago. And I'm just like, yeah, I got to do like a YouTube, while I'm over here of, all the horror stuff in Vegas, because I heard there were quite a few things. And then I went to Hellbound horror collectibles. Right. And then I didn't even know your place, Cinelogia, was there. And they said this place opened up like last month. Like this was back in, I guess, October or so, something like that.
Yeah, I was on the East Coast, but we got the doors open. I busted my ass in August and September to get the doors open.
Yeah, so they're like, this place is like right upstairs in the strip mall, and I'm just like, I gotta go check this out. So I went up there, and then your son was there, and he was telling me, and why don't you tell us a little bit about Cinelogia and what you do with that?
Well, the whole concept of that was my wife's vision. I had been doing prop restoration off and on, even through the time that I was doing, like some of the stuff for the casinos and stuff here.
Okay.
I had because of my resume and because of my background, I was coaxed by actually my current business partner in Cinelogia to get into doing prop restoration and stuff. And I've done some pretty iconic pieces. It took a little convincing on his part, because I wasn't super comfortable with it at first. But once I got, the first couple of pieces and got past myself on that, it's really pretty cool because for me, I'm getting to keep and preserve some of these pieces, that are basically, in my opinion, filmic history, so
absolutely.
One of the pieces that we actually just announced, and I just got it put in at the museum, was a Tremors piece. And the whole reason I got to restore it was because I worked on that film.
Right.
So
nice.
It's pretty cool. And I think the same thing applies to this, even though this Freddy head back here is from New Nightmare, because I worked on 4, the owner really wanted me to work on it for him.
Nice.
And it's an honor to have people ask me to do that,
I
because
bet, man.
you know, it can get very frustrating too. Like I did a Chucky from Child's Play 2. It was really damaged, and I had like it was bad. It was so brown it looked like someone put him in a fireplace.
Yeah, I thought that's what happened in Child's Play.
Yeah, it kind of looked that way. I'm like, are you sure this is? Yeah, but no, it was actually damaged by UV rays, and had someone who had bought it had left it in like a sunny room or something, and it just
I've heard that does a lot of damage.
So bad. And the gentleman that sent it to me, you know, really was a cool guy, and I really appreciated everything he did. He even wound up at the very end of it just supplying me with color swatches of exactly the colors he wanted me to match, to make sure, because he actually does all of the replica dolls.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
So it was nice for me to be able to get that color reference and know exactly what color it needed to be, and all of that. But I had gone through almost the entire paint job, and I was almost done with it. And for whatever reason, I stepped out or something to get a drink from downstairs, and I came back to airbrushing, and I pick up my airbrush and I put the red in it because I needed to put some red in it, and my airbrush just exploded all over the paint job. No. Yeah, I had to strip it all off again and start over. And it was just, that's the kind of stuff you run into, but you know, it's part of the course, I guess. But you know, it's just frustrating when that happens.
I bet. I don't think we said exactly what Cinelogia is. Is it Cinelogia or Cinelogia? No. I don't want to say it right.
So Cinelogia is a, well, we can't technically call it a museum, although it is a museum, because zoning.
I went there, seemed like a museum.
You know, zoning was like an issue and all this other stuff. So we had to open it as a gallery.
Okay.
But it is currently, we are a collection of over 150 screen and production used items that are from different films. You saw it, you know it's, but we have costumes, props, all kinds of things in there that are just some really cool pieces. And my business partner, this is also the gentleman, James Azrael, that had me do the Tremors tentacle.
Nice.
But that's the piece we just put in last week with the 31st anniversary of the film.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice.
We have stuff that's like really iconic. Like there's a newspaper in there from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from 1954. We have Goonies coin. We have a Goonies coin in there from the Goonies. We have Bill and Ted stuff. I was
going to say Bill and Ted. I had a picture next to that. I did a video as I went through, and I did a thing with them. And
we have there's just such neat little things in there.
I like the critter stuff.
And right before I got on this show with you, I just got back some of Debbie's cockroach arms from Nightmare 4.
I was going to say that's
before I got on.
That's awesome. That's one of the coolest kills too.
I just got a hold of them. Got those coming.
It's one of the coolest kills with the whole.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
It's that crew. I mean, the crew. I can't, like I said, I can't always take credit for just one thing, because it's always a crew of people that does it.
Sure.
And everybody has their role, but we all work together because we know what it has to look like. So it's just right. It's really cool to be a part of that team, you know.
That's awesome.
It's odd for me because like for the longest time, like I wasn't doing appearances yet or anything, and then now I'm starting to do appearances and shows, and I just try to make sure that people understand, hey, there's a lot more than just one guy that did that, you know.
Gotcha.
It's a crew, it's a collective effort, and you know the team of I think 5 or 6 guys that worked on that on her death. I'm just one of them, so.
Gotcha.
You know, those guys are awesome. And there's, you know, Mick Strawn wrote a book about everything you would want to know and maybe things you didn't even think to ask about Nightmare 4.
Awesome.
Called Behind the Screen. Behind the Screams.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see what you do next. You know, I loved all the things that you've done in the past. Tell me about the things that you're working on right now. You got a couple things in the works. Yeah,
I do. So as you know, you came to visit Cinelogia while I was back east doing Freddy Fest and a couple of other appearances.
That's funny because I live in New York and I guess we swapped.
Yeah, we did. We totally did because I was in Jersey for a show there too. So yeah, while I was back there, I was touring with Mick Strawn, who was the production designer on Nightmare 3, Nightmare 4. He
Okay.
worked on 5. You know, he's kind of a giant, you know. I mean, not he's a big man, but I mean, in my opinion, he's a giant because he's this he's a production designer that really has an eye for everything. And when he told me he was directing this new film, it was like, this is going to be a dream, because visually the guy is a genius. The entire look of Nightmare 4 came out of his head.
Nice.
So for me to work with him as a director is pretty big honor, even though I give him a lot of shit. We give each other a lot of shit, but
And are we allowed to say the name of this movie, or
we have a fun dynamic? Yeah, it's House in the Pines.
Okay.
We just released a teaser trailer for that. You might want to check that out. Look on my Facebook. There's a link to it.
Definitely check that. Yeah.
We've done a media blast with all the horror rags and everything. They all know about it. It's all out now.
Nice.
We just released that. We shoot summer 2021, and hoping to have it out by, I think the goal is October or November.
Okay, cool.
2021.
Yeah, I really hadn't heard too much about it, and then I looked it up before we were, talking today, and I just saw a couple things. I saw that there was an announcement that you were going to be working on it,
right?
And that's really all I knew about it. So I'm excited. To check it out.
When I first came back from Pennsylvania, I worked briefly. I was kind of supervising it, but not supervising. It's like an absentee kind of thing. There's an effects artist here that actually does a lot of work. She worked for me on the Slipknot thing. Her name's Miranda Dudley. She was working with another friend of mine that tried to get me to work on his film called Killer Popcorn.
You sent me a picture of that. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Killer looks awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. So I actually have those guys in the museum too. But yeah, Miranda did a bang up job on that, and they knocked it. It took them like a year to shoot it, because it's like shooting in off times and all this. It, very, very low budget, but this movie is going to be so much fun because it's everything in it is a nod to 80s horror. Nice. And it's super gory, but it's that super campy gore. It should be really fun. Like nice. When I got back, I helped them finish shooting everything, and we blew up a witch's head and all kinds of crazy
That's
stuff.
What I like to hear.
Yeah. So yeah, so look out for that. That was one of the things that's coming. And we're, while I was back there, I was full bore, sort of hashing out some sequences with Mick on House in the Pines. And then I recently got a call from Mario, who's also the producer on House in the Pines and the writer for House in the Pines. He called me, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and one of his films called Human Hibachi got banned on Amazon.
Okay.
And then it went crazy. Everybody wanted to get a hold of it, and it got picked up, I think, internationally by Troma.
Nice.
And so he wants to do another one, so he wants me to do all the effects for that too.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's kind of getting crazy. And then there's other stuff there's other like oddball things that are coming in along with the prop restorations and everything. So
excellent.
Actually in the process of shopping for a shop, and I've hired a few people, and I have a pretty damn good crew
nice.
So far. And I think these kids are going to really knock it out of the park for me.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for sure. And yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out, well, you probably haven't because it hasn't been around that long, but Cinelogia, over in Las Vegas area, if you're ever around, it is really cool. You just a walkthrough. It's, you walk through at your own speed. You do it, you kind of check out all these props. There's all little plaques. You can read it. It's on my, my YouTube video for Las Vegas filming locations and different other locations when I was there. And definitely check that out. And you guys keep adding to it, it sounds like, too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The best thing about us is while and you were there's 150 pieces in the museum currently. Our collection spans over 4,000 pieces. So
oh, nice. So you swap
and restore, and we're continually adding to it. So it's we're looking to like rotate that collection a couple times a year. So it's going to stay fresh, like let's say you came out 6 months ago. Well, you should come back by because it might not be the same as you saw it last time.
Nice. That's awesome. So I want to touch on a couple of your movies before we finish up here. Just a couple of the some scenes that really affected me when I was younger, and I know there's a team of people working on it. But for one, Dead Heat, Dead Heat, man, with Joe Piscopo. I think that I don't know. I mean, I think people are obviously it's out there now. People are knowing about it. When I was younger, it was like I saw it on cable, right after it came out, and a couple of the scenes, one of them really sticks in my head when I was younger, was the big biker guy that has like the cleft face with like the mouth and like the three noses and all the eyes and everything.
Todd Masters, I think, sculpted his face, but I've got pictures on my profile. If you look at my fan page and stuff, there's pictures of me life casting that guy. Steve, I think his name was Steve. God, I can't think of his last name. I want to say O'Bannon, but I don't know if that's his last name.
Okay.
He's a big wrestler guy.
Nice. Yeah,
he was Joe Piscopo he was a big dude. He was a big dude. So like when we dressed him up like that, I mean, dude was scary. He was
like
really
that.
scary.
Yeah, I mean, like I was terrified when I was a kid. I'm just like, this looks like a boss in a video game because that's all I could compare it to at the time. Like that's all I could,
Right. You don't want to run into that in the dark alley.
Yeah. Joe Piscopo's not a small guy either, and he's like tossing him around. Yeah. But so that stuck with me a lot, as well as the animal scene where they had like the bull and everything that had the no head and was the Re-Animated. That was
that was a lot of Todd Masters' charge too. He sort of took the whole butcher shop scene. I helped with that too. I worked on that liver coming off of the thing onto his face, onto Treat Williams' face. So that I worked with him on that and the ducks, and it's it's a crazy film. And I don't know if you remember that was like the second film I did with Steve. So it was like, and what was cool about that was I was given like a few more things to do and got to kind of show some stuff off. So in the beginning of the film, if you remember the two bank robber guys in the beginning of the film.
Yep.
So those guys, the guy that blows himself up with a hand grenade, I made his remains all myself.
Nice.
And you see that when they cover him in the morgue. There's a shot.
That was quite an explosion there. That was
really quick. But they cover him in the morgue, and that's all fake. And I made all that myself. I airbrushed it. I did everything. I made all his remains myself.
Nice.
And what was great about that was even the morgue nurse, because we shot in the LA County morgue. The morgue nurse looked at it once it was dressed on set, and she said, "You know what? Thanks. I did my job." So yeah. And then the other bank robber that Treat Williams plows into with the car.
Oh yeah. After that, somewhere around that. Yeah.
You remember that
in the movie? Yeah. Right.
So the guy, after the guy blows himself up, he's like trying to shoot him, and he drives the car into him.
Kind of zombies.
Cut the scene out of it there's a whole scene where he runs into him. Yeah, they were zombies, but Treat Williams runs into him, hits him with the car, and you only see him double over on the car. There was a shot that Mark Goldblatt edited out of the film because he was afraid of an X rating.
Okay.
But I made the remains of that guy's head because he's supposed to come back off the car, and the back of his head was liquefied. So when Piscopo kicks, you see him kind of do a kicking motion. He says, "You have the right to remain disgusting."
Right.
That's when he's kicking his head, and that's the scene that got cut out. I have pictures of that on my profile too, and I actually have the production made head from that bank robber back here. I don't know if you can even see.
Is that I can see one head there. Oh, nice.
Not much left of it, but
some behind the scenes stuff.
It's all blood stained and
sweet.
Yeah.
So does that footage still exist? Do you think it's ever going to come out on a special edition or?
God, it would be great if it did, wouldn't it? Awesome. I don't know. It would be really cool if it did.
I can see
all I have is that the snapshot of it on set.
I could see somebody picking that up. Like, I don't know if they
all I have is that snapshot.
I could see something like Vinegar Syndrome or something like that.
I hope somebody re-releases it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I would love for that to happen. That movie was so much fun.
I bet. And that movie looks like pure fun
to work on because it was because, I mean, the whole time, it was like working with Piscopo and Treat Williams and with Steve. I mean, we were all just a bunch of jokers back then, and like the Jerry Lewis puns and shit were like flying. Jerry Lewis impersonations, you
Nice.
know, with the ow, 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 lady, ow, 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 stuff like that. And it's just absolutely ludicrous being on set with those guys because it was just nonstop.
Sweet, sweet.
And then the biggest thing for me was meeting Vincent Price on that film.
I bet.
That was a big deal for me.
That's still crazy to me that he was in that movie. Yeah. Like it just doesn't, it's not his type of movie, you know. I mean,
no, but it was so cool, and he was the nicest. He was the nicest guy. It was
that's awesome.
It was so cool, so cool.
That's always good to hear when you meet somebody.
That's the only time I've ever fanboyed on anybody. You know,
nice.
you know, working with actors, it's they're just people. You
know? Yeah, because you were in Universal Studios too.
Yeah.
You're growing up there, so. And then I also
Vincent
know
was a big deal.
I also know we talked about in the beginning a little bit, but Society, man, what the fuck? Society is the best. And like I said, like I feel like that's really coming back around the last like 5, 6, 7 years or so, and people are getting to see that, and they have, you know, that's. I'm
glad to hear
awesome.
That because
it's really awesome.
I wasn't sure. Like a while ago, I did a screening and another podcast with Brian Hughes, and I did a screening, and I wasn't sure how much I could talk about. But Brian kind of let the cat out of the bag on the podcast we were on together, and he did say that that, and I guess that means I'm allowed to say it, but he's looking to make a series.
Wow.
So Society may be coming back for you.
Wow. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I think it has I think it had that societal message in there too, which I think was always, you know, big in the later 80s as well. And, you know, perfect for, because I mean, that movie was, you know, both goofy and serious at the same time. And had great effects. And I was, you know, I don't want to, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I don't want to give away the whole end part, but what the fuck? And the head in the ass. That was
oh yeah, the butt head. I have the only remaining maquette of that is in the, I don't know if you caught it, was in the museum.
I did not see that one.
You didn't see it? Yeah, I had a reference. Well, George had sculpted the entire shunting scene originally as a maquette. So it was like, I don't know, probably about that big. Okay. It was just all of them together on that, like the end sofa scene. So the butt head was separate because it's a separate scene, but I think I did a quick mold and a cast of that for reference, because originally I was going to sculpt it, and then it went to David Grasso, who's like, he's still an incredible artist. He works for K&B, I think, now, and he's doing all kinds of crazy stuff now, but super cool guy. And he wound up sculpting the butt head, and I wound up doing oh god, what I'm losing my head here. What's the villain's name?
I don't remember his name either.
I can't think of it. Anyway, so Ferguson, that's it. So okay. Ferguson, I did Ferguson's face when he kisses Billy.
Oh yeah, the
pulls away.
Yeah.
So I did that sculpture, awesome. And then I also did the entire inside out body thing.
Oh, nice.
So that gag, I got kind of shifted over onto that, and the shunting sequence thing. If you look on my fan page, there's pictures of that too. Of George actually blocked out everything because we had such a really short schedule and a really low budget to do that film, and there's
it stands up.
Super effects heavy movie too.
Yeah,
so it was really our timeline was like ridiculous to try and get it all done. But so George is like doing these full size, and you already know because you've seen it, but these full size pieces for that shunting sequence at the end. And so we actually had a sculpture that big. We simulated the couch. We built all the pipes to build the sculptures up on. So George is going up, blocking it all out, and I'm following him, sculpting in the back. Like he's doing it, then I'm doing it, then he's doing it, then I'm cleaning it all up, you know? So then I had to take those and separate them and mold them. So
wow,
it was absolutely insane on that film. But that was another film that was really, really messy, but really fun to work on.
Well, like I said, man, that definitely stands up. And it's awesome. So I have two questions to finish up with. And the first one is, what's your favorite slasher movie? Do you have a favorite slasher movie of all time?
I really don't. And I guess you consider, Not sure if they do or not, because he's in your dreams. He's not like Jason, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I consider him a slasher. That's
yeah. So I guess it'd probably be Freddy.
Okay. Cool.
Only because I was a fan before I worked on the film. I really did enjoy The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
You know, for me before that, it was more the guys like the Tall Man and Phantasm. He was just like the scariest motherfucker to me.
Very ominous.
So,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, you know, I had wanted to work on Phantasm. I almost got an opportunity to work on Phantasm too, but I wound up working on something else. So
that was a crazy movie too.
It was.
Expecting that movie, and that was a fun one.
It was. And I got to restore one of those balls from Phantasm 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then my final question is just, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, the quickest way to find me is on Instagram or Facebook. Facebook.com, Nick J. Benson Official, or Instagram, Nick Benson 427. And that's where I'm at.
Thanks so much,
and
Nick.
don't forget Cinelogia.
Absolutely.
Facebook.com/Cinelogia, Cinologia. And the same thing for Instagram. Find us on Instagram as well. Follow us. And the next time you come out, you better come see me.
I will. I'll make sure you're there. When I was coming out, I think it must have been when you were coming back or something, because your son said like, oh, he's going to be here later. And I was running around to all different places, and I'm just like,
yeah. I know you went to Tom's and everything too.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
I went to Tom Devlin's, and I went to a bunch of different spots. You saw the
Tom's
video,
awesome.
right? Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I think you responded on that. Yeah. No. But next time I come out, I'll be there, man.
Yeah, do it. That'd be awesome.
Thanks so much for joining me today, guys.
No problem.
Nick Benson.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So that wraps up my conversation with Nick Benson. And, we got to talk a little bit actually off camera too. And, great conversation, just a really great guy who I'm really happy I met. So thank you so much, Nick. And thank all of you for joining and watching this with me today. And do make sure to keep a lookout for Nick's new stuff like Killer Popcorn and House in the Pines. Those both look like they're going to be a lot of fun. And if you're ever over in the Vegas area, check out Cinelogia. Cinelogia. Sorry, Nick, I never get it right. God damn it. Anyway, if you're there, check it out. And if you like this video, there's some good news. Me and Nick might be doing some more videos together. We talked a little bit, and there could be some other stuff in the future. Best way to make sure that you check that out is to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and hit that bell. And until then, see you guys later. One thing we didn't get to talk about is that Nick also did some work on Dances with Wolves, a movie about, choices of lifestyles and, determining how you're going to live and, what's going to be right for your life. That was the weirdest sequel to Society.